Robbie Williams Rewind.
Welcome to Robbie Williams Rewind. We are the champions. I'm Matt.
And I'm Lucy.
And along with help from special guest fans, we take you on an in-depth rewind through the solo career of multi-award-winning singer, songwriter and entertainer Robbie Williams.
Hail Keanu. Pleasantries. We're happy that we're back with another episode, as there's lots to talk about in Robbie world at the moment. So we thought we'd bring two of our previous guests back, both for their third times on the show. So they're almost becoming hosts themselves.
Guest hosts, yeah.
So later in the show, we've got Jocelyn from the USA returning to tell us all about the Telluride and Toronto film festivals that she went to for the world premieres of Better Man. Don't worry, we're not going to give away any spoilers about the film, although I'm pretty sure everyone knows the biggest spoiler already, because that's been all over the press and social media and in Rob's posts, I think.
Yeah.
But first,
we've got Christina from Denmark back. Hello, Christina.
Hello.
Hi, Christina.
Thank you for having me back.
That's all right.
That's all right. So Christina was first on our Sing When You're Winning B-Sides episode, as well as our Lufthaus Visions Volume 1 episode. She's going to be filling us in on Robbie's UK debut on stage with Lufthaus at Creamfields, which she was lucky enough to attend.
Yeah.
And we'll also be talking a little bit about Rob's recent gig in Hamburg as well, as Christina went to that one too.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah. It was a busy week.
So let's go into a bit of a news roundup before we talk in detail to Christina about all of those. I went to the MoCo in London and I saw Rob's art there. He's got 8 pieces in there at the moment.
She didn't take me.
No.
No. Anne didn't tell me she was going, just suddenly I started seeing pictures of Lucy at the MoCo in London.
Well, I went up to London with our daughter to see the Taylor Swift exhibition at the V&A, and I was like, right, I've walked around your exhibition. You're going to go and walk around my exhibition now. So
didn't you have to walk a mile through the wasn't it a mile of V&A Taylor Swift outfits? Is that right?
Yeah, because they were spread all over the museum. So it took about an hour and 3/4 to see 13 exhibits. So it's pretty mad.
So
anyway.
so payback was that you had to take our daughter to go and see Robbie's MoCo exhibition.
Yeah.
I'll go in there one day. What did you think of it?
Yeah, it was good.
Compared to Amsterdam.
Yeah, it had some cool stuff in there, just like they do in Amsterdam. And Robbie's art was great. They had the mixtape pieces. They're good.
Any digital stuff?
No, not for his. No.
I'd like to see those pieces in London as well.
Yeah.
Actually.
It was a good museum. I did enjoy it.
Yeah.
There doesn't seem to be much promo about it. It just happened.
Yeah.
I mean, it was always planned to, but there wasn't a big fanfare or...
No.
Did he go for the opening? Or
No.
No, they just appeared in London.
Yeah, suddenly.
Rob received a National Television Award nomination in the authored documentary category for his Netflix documentary, but unfortunately he lost out to Kate Garraway's documentary about her husband Derek, but I think that's to be expected.
Yeah.
Really.
Rob also helped to design the Dutch Grand Prix trophy, which was manufactured by Royal Delft. He said that he wrote all the things he could think that the drivers would have to sacrifice to achieve greatness. In their moment of greatness, he wanted to give them a pat on the back for enduring. I'll put a picture of that on the website page as well,
okay.
RobbieWilliamsRewind.com. Go and have a look.
Yeah. It was nice, actually, wasn't it?
Can I just say that being Formula One fans, both Mina and me actually are. So we enjoyed that very much.
Oh, I bet.
That was kind of two worlds.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
colliding
good.
in a good way.
He seemed very proud of it, didn't he?
Yeah.
Nice.
Another showcase for his art as well.
Yeah.
Win-win.
Exactly. He's going to appear in a 3-part documentary on the BBC Two by Louis Theroux called Boy Bands Forever, which also features Brian McFadden, members of E17, Blue, 5, 911 and Damage, plus Simon Cowell, Nigel Martin Smith, Louis Walsh and more.
Whoa.
So that's going to be interesting, isn't it?
Well, it will be, because Louis Theroux's style is just so different to any other journalist. I mean, he's just quirky and smart, and he just asks the most interesting questions and sometimes the most provocative questions as well. And What do we know when that's coming out?
It just said this autumn, so
Oh, right,
I don't
okay.
know when yet.
Soon.
Yeah.
Feels as though we're in winter already at the moment, but I guess it is autumn. And Netflix have also announced that they're going to be making a documentary about Take That, including interviews with Rob and apparently Jason.
I don't know whether that's archival interviews. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think, Christina? What's the chances?
I would guess on archive
Yeah.
interviews.
I
would be very surprised if, and I'm not, I mean, even if they manage getting something from him, would we like it, knowing how he feels about?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if I really know that he's okay with it, it'd be cool.
Yeah.
But if I have any doubt that he's been dragged into it against his will,
Yeah.
I would be sorry for
Yeah,
him.
same. Yeah.
And I would rather be without it.
Mm.
Yeah, I doubt he wants to be brought back into that world again, does he, even in retrospect?
Yeah.
So, who knows? And the documentary will be made by James Corden's production company.
Mm-hmm. And then probably the biggest news that's happened since our last episode in Robbie World is that he's got new teeth.
Oh.
This is pretty big news, isn't it?
It is. It's huge news about Rob's gnashers. Yes.
So he revealed them on Instagram, and then he showed them off at the 2 Hamburg gigs he did for customers of Hasper Joker bank accounts. And Christina, you were lucky enough to go to one or both of those gigs?
I went to one of them the first night.
Okay.
Yeah. Which was, first of all, I'm extremely grateful that Sandra asked me. And Thursday was the good day for me because I had Creamfields later that week. So it would have been even more stressful if it had been Friday.
Right.
So I was very, very happy that I could go Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what did his teeth
One
look
of those
like?
gigs too. I mean, when they were announced, I had absolutely no idea I would go at all. So very grateful for that.
Were they gleaming? Were the teeth gleaming at you from stage?
Yeah, it was just hilarious. I mean, there was a poster asking something about those teeth, and he, of course, picked up on that immediately.
Oh.
So we asked for it at the front row. Yeah,
They're not
me, but
they're not turkey teeth, are they? They're Dubai teeth, I think. You know when he said.
I actually think that was on the banner.
Right.
Oh, what turkey
Are
teeth?
they turkey?
Thing is, he asked for that.
Yeah, he did.
Because he keeps when he said that a couple of times
To the same girl.
to the girl that we were stood next to in Hyde Park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Face from London, teeth from Turkey.
Yeah.
But then actually, didn't he get them done in LA? And now, now he's going to get them done in Dubai or something.
I don't know.
The temporary ones were done in LA.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have a whole podcast dedicated dentistry. You know? I started asking Lucy how they actually do it, and she said I'd rather not talk about it.
It's kind of gross.
So it sounds as though there's full extraction involved, and I don't know how they do it.
Yeah.
If you're a dentist and you listen to the show and you want to come on and explain how they do it,
Please fill us in.
please do.
Yeah. Yeah, and I wonder how much he'll suffer when he has the real ones done.
Yeah.
But good on him. Good on him. That's what he wants.
Absolutely.
You know.
Yeah.
And what were the gigs like?
Yes, onto the proper stuff now.
Well, it was more or less the Hyde Park set list, obviously without the special lists. And we were a bit surprised in a good way that we got advertising space again.
Yeah.
And we actually thought it would be only the hits because it wasn't a dedicated Robbie Williams crowd, we thought. But he did advertising space, which was amazing. It's still, I mean, the way he performs it now, it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
The video playing in the background and the way he mentions all those names, it's just, I mean, it's always been a beautiful number, but the way he performs it live now is just amazing.
Yeah, the production of that is amazing, isn't it? Yeah. How they really heartfelt and right in the right moment in the show as well.
Yeah. So we enjoyed that very much. It was a bit funny because he did the video introduction before getting on stage, but it was the exact it was a recording from Hyde Park.
Yeah. But didn't they change it to like Hamburg?
No.
Or something? No?
Well, I think they sang Hamburg,
Right.
but the video was the one from Hyde Park.
So it still said Hyde Park in the video.
Yeah. and I mean, the same people were seen on the way.
Danny Dyer and
exactly.
Gaz Coombs.
Yeah. That was a bit funny.
No expense spared then, just reuse that one. It's a nice build-up though, isn't it?
Yeah,
and I did wonder how many of the German people would know who they were watching anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that. I bet they figured that was the case. They thought, well, they're not going to know who they are anyway, so let's just...
Yeah.
No offence to Gaz Coombs. I'm sure he's...
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But I like that intro, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They might have known who the little...
the couple cut out Noel.
Noel, yes, they might have known who he was. So it was a good gig all in all then? Or did you go to both gigs or one night? Or?
The entrance was completely a mess.
Oh.
Actually, a bit like Hyde Park, where we thought we had it all sorted out. The right people had talked to the right people, and still they just fucked it up.
It was a free-for-all, was it, going in?
It was. Yeah, I mean, they told us they would line us up after security and walk us in. And well, they kind of did, but lining us up after security meant that they lined us up wide. 60 people wide.
Like they did in Hyde Park.
Behind a piece of tape.
Right.
Oh, they think they're doing right by doing that.
They thought they could control several hundred people behind a piece of tape.
Oh, God.
I mean, come on.
They just don't get it, do they?
Honestly, some of these security people have never dealt with this before. You know, I'm not saying they haven't done security before, but they don't actually know what's going to happen when people are keen to get
they clearly
to the front.
don't. Yeah, and we had 2 entrances again, actually. So that was stressful as well. And then it was quite funny afterwards because we walked in, like I said, 60 people wide and people behind us.
Yeah.
And then when we were walking in on this field, suddenly there's this candy or pretzel stall with a woman in the middle of the road where we were walking, 60 people wide. And we just shouted to the security, "What are we gonna do here? What's your plan with this tape and this stall?" And it was completely like they just looked at us, and I think they thought, well, if we don't look at the stall, it will go away. But it didn't.
Oh my God.
So, and imagine that woman in that stall looking at this 60 wide crowd of people just come walking towards her. It was insane. So when we got to the stall, we thought, well, let's get a try to lift the tape. Yeah.
I said, let's get a pretzel, but you didn't.
And no. And the second we lifted the tape to get it over the stall, people just started running.
Yeah.
Of course, I mean. So.
Oh, well thought out entry then by the security there. Great. Pretzels are obviously more important than getting people.
Yeah, I mean, again, organisation, please. What?
That was mad.
What's your plan? They didn't have any.
Wow.
So that was a mess. A lot of running, and it was a long way. But again, we were lucky. We got good spots. All our people in front of the queue got great spots, as far as I know.
Oh, that's good.
And the gig was great. So.
And the same set as Hyde Park. Nothing new.
Nothing new. No, as far as I recall.
Right.
So moving on, he also played a gig in Monaco for posh yacht company Ferretti Group, where he sung Something Stupid with Dinoche and sailed off in a yacht at the end. All highly choreographed and filmed and waving. It's like James Bond on the back of the boat,
it was.
You know, just waving and disappearing.
It looked good.
It did.
It looked very good, and I think that was a very intimate gig.
Yeah.
I saw the photos of it. It looked as though there was the dinner table was all set up, facing the stage, and then everybody stood up, and there really wasn't that many people there, was there?
No.
I mean, not in a bad way. I mean, it was, probably what they paid per ticket,
Yeah, just the program or the invitation or whatever it was shown on Instagram looked posh.
And it did say on that ticket I read, you must keep your ticket on you at all times to be able to show it at all times. To they were really making sure that only invited people got in.
Yeah.
I quite like the clip that I saw of him making a joke about, oh yeah, I'm sure you've all got a yacht already, but if you're interested in buying a new yacht from Ferretti, the representatives are around here. Get your credit card out, and they've got a machine or something on them, and you can get a new yacht.
Yeah.
Dear.
Yeah. And then he went from Monaco back to Toronto, didn't he?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So yeah, in between so from Hamburg he went to Telluride, and then he came back to Monaco, and then he went back to Toronto. And then after Toronto, he came back, and we've just seen that he was in Dubai at some bloke's 50th birthday party. So yeah, he's really been on the move.
He has, and we're going to hear all about.
Can't imagine the jet lag.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, he must live in a permanent state of not quite knowing what time zone he's on.
Yeah.
As we know, he likes his sleep anyway, so he probably just
sleeps
when he needs to, and wakes when he needs to. And but we'll hear all about Telluride and Toronto from when we speak to Jocelyn in a bit. Okay.
I'm really looking forward to hearing from her as well.
Yes, so are we.
Yes.
So now let's move on to Creamfields. Exciting. Rob joined his Lufthaus bandmates Tim Metcalf and Flynn Francis on stage at Creamfields on the 25th of August for his first UK appearance on stage with them. And we're very lucky that Christina attended the show, and she's going to tell us all about it.
Absolutely.
So how did it start? Tell us about your day.
Well, that's a good question. It started with the show being announced.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I was certain that Rob was going to be there. And ever since we saw the videos from Ibiza and those shows, which I didn't have a chance to attend, I've just really, I really wanted to see him with them on stage. And after seeing them supporting him on the tour, and I mean, I think I said it on the Lufthaus episode as well, that the way we got to know about the music through Rob on Instagram mainly during Corona Oki and that period of time, it's just been a thing for me at least, and Mina, to see him with them and hearing him singing those songs live. So in my mind, there was no doubt. I was definitely going to that festival.
Right.
Which at the same time was very weird.
Yeah.
Because nothing could be further from the music I usually listen to. Mm-hmm. I mean, rock is already an exception from my usual taste of music, being rock.
Yeah.
So I knew I was putting myself into something that would probably not feel nice apart from Lufthaus.
Yeah.
But I mean, I had to do it. And not knowing anything about such festival at all, the only thing I could do was make a plan that I would go there. I bought a 2-day ticket actually,
right,
Saturday and Sunday. So my plan was to go there Saturday to check it out, simply to see what happens on such festival, and to see the stage and to see how people react when they get in. Do they go to those stages right away? Do I expect a run for the front?
Okay.
Whatever. I mean, I had no idea.
Yeah, of course.
Which also made it even more nice when Mina decided to come along.
Right.
Because wouldn't be alone. I mean, I had no idea what to expect about other Robbie Williams fans showing up, people I would know. So I kind of planned from not knowing anyone else than Mina.
Yeah.
So it was just, the whole build-up was weird because we didn't know what to think of it and what to expect, really, apart from weird music and probably a weird festival. I mean, I'm not into festivals in the first place either, so yeah.
Well out of your comfort zone then.
Sorry?
I said well out of your comfort zone.
Completely out of my comfort zone. But again, especially since there wasn't any other gigs announced with the three of them, I was happy that I decided to go.
Right.
And so how did it all turn out then? So
you went on the Saturday, did you?
Yeah, we went there on the Saturday, and I went in because I had a ticket, waited outside. And that was another weird thing because, it's not a little it's not a small festival, it's a big festival.
Yeah.
They have an official program and it says what time the gates open and everything. So we went there before gates opened on Saturday because we wanted to see, is there a queue?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't know.
Yeah.
So, and we went there, I think we arrived half an hour before gates were supposed to open. And the gates were open and people were in.
Oh.
Yeah, it's just, what? So I went in and with my phone recording the way to the stage and went to the stage where we know Lufthaus was going to perform and found 0 people in front of that stage at all. So it's just, okay, this looks doable. And then I waited inside. It was, I think, 20 minutes until the first act. And no one showed up.
What, you were the only person there?
No, I think there was one guy at a time, and maybe he stayed around, I can't remember. And when he entered the front row, he didn't even go to the center of the front row. He stood at the side. So, and then I hang out for a while to see what happens when the first act starts playing. And then within 10, 15 minutes, people started showing up, but they didn't go to the front. They just showed up in front of stage and started dancing and enjoying the music.
Yeah, people want space.
Just, okay, this looks good. We can do this.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm not saying it was bad music because that depends on the ears hearing it.
Yes.
But I struggled already there. So after I had sent some photos out to Minna, I was, can I come out now, please?
So dance, house, techno, it's not your thing.
That's not my thing.
I think I'd have loved it. I should have gone, really. Where were we? I think we were away that weekend. Oh, I couldn't.
Yeah.
Well, it's not for me.
So then when you went in the next day, you obviously must have stood there for the whole day, did you? And then you had to listen to the whole day's set before he even come on in the evening, right?
Yeah, but I mean, the thing was, okay, once we realized, okay, we can't trust the plans about when gates open.
Right.
So that was kind of, and even though we didn't see many people there in front of that stage on Saturday, there's still this lurking fear. Will people come to queue for Rob?
Yeah.
Because he will be there.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought, okay, I think gates were supposed to open at 12 on Sunday. So we arrived around 8 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And we found 3 young guys who wasn't really queuing. They were just there. And then it was just weird. It was so weird because security showed up and said, well, they might let you in at 10 or 11 or whatever. But they will probably let you in before 12. So already there, okay, we might be the only ones here, but we're not leaving.
Yeah.
Because, again, the usual fear that the second you leave, 100 people come running in and take the spot.
So did anyone show up? Anyone else?
Well, it turned out they didn't let us in before 12 anyway.
Oh.
So yes, by that time, many people had shown up. No, Robbie Williams.
Just general, yeah.
Just general people. So when they finally let us in at 12, I actually think it got after 12, which was weird. But we heard Lufthaus sound check. Yeah, that was kind of cool.
Nice.
So when we got in, and again, they opened several lanes, and it's difficult not to panic. But at the same time, we quickly realized no one is going for that stage.
Yeah.
I don't know what they went for, because they were all in a hurry and they were shouting and they were impatient and everything. But yeah, they went elsewhere. So we went to the stage, to the front, just to kind of be there.
Yeah.
And okay, so it started raining. And then we thought, well, there's no one at the front anyway. So we went to seek shelter in a tent. But then the music started playing. It was so loud, and you couldn't have a conversation anywhere on the entire ground. So, and being that kind of music, it was just it literally horrible. So we walked around, keeping an eye on in front of the stage where Lufthaus was going to play, and didn't know what to do because we couldn't escape.
So what time were they due to come on?
8 or something? 8?
At 8.
Yeah, 8.
Yeah. Oh, so you just had 8 hours to wait then?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a funny thing, because usually when we queue, 8 hours is nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, we do days sometimes.
Yeah.
And those 8 hours was just never ending. It was, I mean, sorry, Creamfields, but I know I was just not supposed to be there for anything but Lufthaus. And then I think 2 acts before Lufthaus, people started being there more constantly, and we thought, well, we better go and get the front row center, because that's what we wanted, and stay there. So we did that for 2 or 3 acts before Lufthaus.
Yeah.
And it was difficult.
It was painful.
Should have took some headphones with you.
Yeah, and Lucy, you said it afterwards. Did we bring earplugs? No. But why? I don't know. I was stupid.
You could have taken your headphones and listened to your rock and your heavy metal, and
But I mean, literally, I don't know what it would have taken to eliminate that noise. It was so loud. It was insane. I mean, there was one tent where they had a break for half an hour during the day, and we went there, and at least we could talk together for that half an hour. But apart from that, it was just... the only exception, I will say, was Example. If that's pronounced correctly. Yeah. He was on just before Rob and Lufthaus.
Okay.
And he actually played songs.
Right.
And he actually played one song we liked.
That's good.
That was so crazy.
So you enjoyed him, or at least you pretended to enjoy him.
Yeah, he was easier to enjoy than anything else. Yeah. And but still, then there was a DJ just doing what a DJ does between him and Lufthaus, and it was just
a lot of DJs at Creamfields. Yeah.
I know.
We're intrigued to know, what was the crowd like? Was it kind of a mixed ages and?
Well, it was mixed in that way that we saw at least a few people older than us, but it was mainly young people.
Yeah.
And again, I know I was just misplaced, and I know it's not my world, but it made me a bit sad seeing how many young people treat themselves the way they do.
Oh.
Mm.
I'm not going to lie. Right. That was difficult.
Yeah.
And knowing, I mean, we saw them from 10 a.m. in the queue outside. And we could hear, and we knew that they had been on it for 4 days.
Yeah.
Wow.
At that time.
Yeah.
So it was a bit difficult witnessing, but again, I knew what I was going into, so I wasn't surprised. But it's one thing imagining and then seeing it right in front of your
Right.
eyes.
So let's fast forward to the gig itself. Tell us about the gig. So how did that happen for you?
It was so good. It was worth everything I put myself through.
Oh, good.
I mean, I wouldn't have been without it. It was, and I mean, I know it's kind of, compared to the whole Better Man thing, it might seem like a minor thing, but to me anyway, it was huge.
Yeah.
And it felt like I witnessed an important point in history.
Yeah.
In Robbie's career.
Mm-hmm.
And so did they just walk on and start, or was it a big build up? Did Rob come out with them, or how did they intro?
Well, Finn and Tim walked up and just started saying, "We are Lufthaus," and then within seconds, Rob joined them.
Okay.
And it was actually quite funny because before they went on stage, we were joined by a few Robbie people at the front. And just that feeling of, okay, we have a few people who actually know what we're doing.
Yeah.
So that was nice. So they were very excited as well. But it was amazing from the first second. And even the songs that I don't know, because they obviously played some songs that I don't know, because there were several covers. I don't know if you have seen what's.
Yeah, well, we were going to talk about that actually. What did they open with?
I can't remember.
Okay.
I think it was Unlovable, was it?
Well, no, I think we. I tried to find a set list, but I couldn't find a set list for the.
No,
for
and
the
I actually kind of asked them on Instagram for a set list, but I didn't get a response.
Ah, okay. I mean, they did covers like Forever Young, Corona's Rhythm of the Night, Calvin Harris's Close to You, The Outfield's Your Love, and obviously Eurythmics' Sweet Dreams.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing that I know Mina mentions as well, it's difficult because when you hear songs you don't know, and the way they just kind of, it's not a song from start to end.
Yeah.
It's part of a song and it just goes straight to the next song.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't really realize when you're going from one song to the next.
Yeah.
Unless you really know the song and you can hear Feel, for example.
Yeah.
We knew, okay, this is Feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially with them playing extended versions with long outros, mixing. Yeah, there would have been a lot of extra bits and pieces that Tim and Flynn would have been adding in for the show, especially since it was Creamfields. So you probably felt as though you were listening to one long piece of music all the way through, right?
Yes,
yeah,
definitely. But I mean, first of all, seeing Rob joining them was so great, and seeing his joy and how he just embraced the whole thing. And for anyone who has seen clips from that gig, there's obviously the higher part of the stage where they stand with the deck and all their machinery.
Yeah.
But then there's a level below that, closer to the audience.
Mm-hmm.
And Rob is usually finding his way all the way down to the front row and greeted the entire front row twice. That was amazing.
Yeah.
So we got that feeling of, he knew we were there, and you like that.
Cool. He likes the connection with the crowd, doesn't he? He doesn't want to be 2 miles away from the crowd. He wants to come down and see you. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And there was a very cool moment because we had two Robbie people next to us, and they had a poster, Heel Keanu.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he bowed, made half the heart, and did the greeting. That was so cool.
I saw the video of that. That looked so nice.
Yeah.
Which anybody else there probably wouldn't have understood at all.
No.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was a brilliant moment.
I like that.
Yeah.
A little secret code for the fans there.
Yeah.
Love it.
And we had a banner, Mina and me, and I don't think they read it. It was quite long, but it referenced, because it's been a bit of a journey for me and Mina, seeing them in Finland without Rob. But when we met Flynn and Tim at the club after the gig in Tampere, so our banner was just from the club to Creamfields. We have no idea what we are doing. House made us.
So what was the reaction like when Rob walked on stage? Do you think most of the crowd knew who he was and were expecting him?
Yes.
Or was there people there that were like, oh, it's Robbie Williams?
They definitely knew him, and they were definitely there to see him.
Yeah.
Actually, before they went on stage. The thing is, not even does one song go directly into another song. The act does as well.
Oh.
That was so weird. One DJ doing his or her thing up there, and the next one comes up before
that person's finished,
leaving, and then they just talk and then
they keep going.
So they keep the mix going, keep the music going.
Yeah. Oh. But not with Lufthaus, because there was a break which was called church service.
Oh.
Before, in respect to whatever church it was. But they had an hour and a half with no act. So there was no one on stage before Lufthaus, which was nice. But that means that the crowd that gathered in front of the stage, they didn't have any music until Lufthaus got on stage.
Yeah. So
the guys started singing Angels.
Right.
And we were a bit, look, I was a bit annoyed, if I can say that. Yeah. Mainly because I didn't want Flynn and Tim to have the impression that people were only there to see Rob.
Yeah.
A Rob gig, yeah.
And I mean, Mina and I were talking a lot because there was actually room for conversation at that time. We were talking a lot about what to expect from Lufthaus. And then we hear Angels from the crowd. Could you sing a Lufthaus song or something more appropriate? But just to say that we took that as a sign that, one, they definitely came to see Rob, and they definitely knew about him.
Right.
Because they were singing Angels even before he got on stage.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And they were excited to see him by the sounds of it.
They were excited. It was, they got a super reaction from the crowd.
Oh, that's great.
That made me so happy. It really did. And again, we know Rob can perform under any circumstances, but it was amazing seeing him dancing around and doing that kind of a gig.
And he looked comfortable doing it, because he said in Ibiza that he wasn't comfortable, but he looked okay.
He looked comfortable.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know he's a good actor.
Yeah.
but he actually looked very, very comfortable. And you mentioned Forever Young as one of the covers. And that was a highlight for me. And again, I'm not a fan of the cover. I definitely just want Lufthaus music as much as possible. That being said, if they had to do a cover, Forever Young came completely out of nowhere. But it's one of a few songs that my entire teenage years was just built around. So that song and I mean, I haven't heard it in many years, and it's not a song that I connect with Robbie World at all.
Yeah.
So hearing him singing it and singing along to it there was quite emotional for me, and it made ends connect that I didn't expect in my life anyway.
Yeah.
Lovely.
So it was really amazing. And I was completely blown away the second I realized it was Forever Young.
Yeah.
So that was definitely a highlight.
Yeah.
And then they played parts of Lufthaus songs, didn't they? They did Unlovable, Ringo, Sway, Sunlight.
Yeah.
I heard those in the videos I saw. Do you think were there any others?
Where Do We Come From?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah. Which I know Mina's message is much about.
Should we play Minna's message in now? Should we hear
Yeah,
what
Yeah,
she
that's
had to say?
a good point to hear from Minna, who's very kindly recorded us a message to bring into the show, because she was, as you said, she was with you at the show. So let's hear from Minna.
Hey Lucy, hey Matt. I'm sure Christina's done a wonderful job in relaying our Creamfields adventure, but I would like to chime in with one of my standout moments from the gig, which was Where Do We Come From? It's been one of my favorite, if not the favorite Lufthaus song ever since we heard it on Instagram Live in 2020. And especially the lines, East of death and west of youth, in the desert still yearning for the truth. Like, I think that's just perfection. But, as we all know, that part was completely missing from the released version that we got this summer. Which I don't really understand why, because I think those lines are just way too good to go to waste, don't you think? Christina said maybe we'll be lucky and hear that full version at Creamfields, but I was like, nah, that's not gonna happen. But what do I know? When Rob started that song at Creamfields with North of Hope and South of Dreams, and I realized we are actually getting the unreleased first verse, I was completely over the moon. There's a video of that moment on Lufthaus's Instagram page, where you can just hear how stunning Rob's vocals are. Those vocals with that lyric, with that sort of otherworldly feel of the music that I think a lot of the Lufthaus stuff has. I mean, I just love that vibe. But it needs to be noted, I thought it was quite interesting how at an EDM gig, the songs don't really begin and end the same way as we're used to. They just sort of seamlessly transition from one song to the next. And a lot of the time, I didn't even realize we had moved on to the next song until the lyrics came in. So it was only after the show that I realized there were so many of these songs that I was so excited to hear when they started, but actually we only got like the first verse and the chorus. And Where Do We Come From was one of them. Out of the parts that were on the released version, I was really looking forward to hearing the middle 8. We turn pain into power, cause now is the hour, it's ours. I think that would have been absolutely massive live. But we didn't get it. I'm not gonna complain too much, I was so happy about the first verse, but I just thought it was a bit funny. You win some, you lose some, I guess. But all in all, seeing Tim, Flynn and Rob on stage together finally as a three-piece, and being at a totally different kind of gig was just super exciting. I was quite nervous about Creamfields beforehand, but I'm glad that I could add that gig to my collection of concert memories. I feel like we got to experience something quite unique and quite special that night. And I can say I've been to Creamfields. That was an experience.
Hi, I'm Robbie Williams, and you're listening to Robbie Williams Rewind with the Champions.
Cool, that was good to hear from Minna, wasn't it?
Yeah, very good. And I liked her take on everything.
Yeah, and I really share her opinion about Where Do We Come From.
Yeah.
Because that was definitely a highlight for me as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. So Where Do We Come From? They released it as a single on the 26th of July in collaboration with DJ Don Diablo and African singer Sophia Wanjiku. So, yeah, it's very different, that version, to what we remember from Instagram Live, isn't it? Which is obviously a lot more of Rob's vocals on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
More lyrics.
Yeah, and they actually played it at the club, the set.
Oh, of course they did, yeah.
In Tampere. It was the opening song of their set, actually, with the full lyrics.
Right.
So we know they have it. Yeah. I mean, come on.
Come on, release it.
Yeah.
Come on, Tim and Flynn.
Yes, please.
You've got your number one groupie here. She's asking for it. Come on.
Yeah.
So are we.
Yeah, I mean, they normally have released several different versions of songs by now, haven't they, when they've released their other singles? So it's kind of strange they haven't released another mix of that song already.
Yeah, and again, I don't quite understand how things work in that part of the music world, but I wonder if, because I expect there'll be a Vision Volume 2 album.
Yeah.
Could it be on there?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
You never know. I mean, with dance music, you can release remixes almost at any time. I'm sure they've got many.
And that's another weird thing that you get the remix before you get the actual song.
Yeah.
What's going on with that?
Yeah.
I'm sure Tim and Flynn could tell us. I mean, I think sometimes they're just trying to get the track into the clubs. Obviously, we don't go clubbing anymore, but we used to, or I used to sometimes. And often they do like a pre-release type thing where they try and get a bit of an underground support for a song or an off-the-record type. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something they try and do it
absolutely.
in that way, so it creates a vibe and a buzz, and all the big DJs start playing it. And I think there's a different way that industry, that part of the industry works. Probably works even more differently than I've just described.
Yeah, I'm perfectly aware that it's the Robbie Williams part of me trying to maneuver in
you want the traditional
EDM world.
Yeah.
So I know they do what they do in that kind of music, but it's difficult not bringing in the admiration of Rob's lyrics and his voice.
Yeah.
So of course we want more of Rob.
Yeah. I think that goes for most of us.
I think Lufthaus, like anything else around Rob's system, will obviously, their profile is going to go up when the film comes, and when Rob's profile starts to go up even more. So it'll be interesting to see what more they've got in store. I'm sure there'll be some things on the way next year.
Yeah.
In the great big plan that's coming, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how did you enjoy the remix of Feel?
Ooh.
That's actually funny. Because had you asked me beforehand, I would be against it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Mina found a video from Ibiza where they played it.
Oh, okay. I forgot.
And it might not be the exact same, but the thing is, I had heard a remix of Feel before Creamfields.
Yeah.
And I actually liked it. And I thought about it because I expected we would talk about it. And I think the thing with Feel is that it has some sort of dance vibe in the rhythm of it, whatever.
Yeah.
And I mean, in the part where Rob doesn't sing, he dances on stage.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I really enjoyed it. And I think it actually suits Feel.
It does.
Being played that way. Whereas I mean, would I have liked another song than Angel? Yes, I would have preferred another Lufthaus song.
Yeah.
But that being said, I'm glad they at least played Angels the normal way.
Right.
Because I don't see Angels being in any way better or good in some sort of remix. No, I definitely. Generally, once I like a song in a certain version, I don't like it to being messed with. Just leave it, give it to me as I know it, if I like it.
And I think the crowd all went crazy for Angels, didn't they?
Yeah, and I mean it was so funny because the guys had been singing it before the gig. So, and I actually saw someone commenting before Creamfields on one of Rob's posts on Instagram, or maybe it was Creamfields. Never mind, it was on Instagram saying, "If Rob doesn't sing Angels, I'm going home." And that was meant as a joke, of course. Yeah. But then he did sing Angels, so no one had to go home.
Yeah.
But again, I'm glad that they kept Angels as we know it.
Yeah.
The only thing I've experienced with Angels I actually liked was Hyde Park when Rob added the "It's Coming Home."
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
You remember that?
yeah,
Yeah.
That was actually beautiful.
yeah. That was in the moment.
It has to feature.
Had you asked me beforehand about that as well, I would have said no. Crazy.
Yeah, I would have said
But
no
I
as
love
well.
that stuff.
It has to feature. Everyone's got,
Yeah.
even those fans where it's not their number one song, people still got a little place for it because it's such a huge part of who he is and how he got to where he is. And I think it's nice that he continues to acknowledge it, and he knows that people want it. And I'm sure it seemed a bit, for some, it might have seemed a bit out of place at a dance festival, but it's him. He had to bring it, so it's cool that he brought that.
I love Angels. Again, it's a bit like with our Under the Radar gig. Mm-hmm. We would have been sad if any of that time had been spent on a big hit, no matter, and we didn't have Angels either, and we didn't want Angels that night. And like I said before, I would have preferred a Lufthaus song.
Yes.
I mean, one of the unreleased songs, which is my favorite Lufthaus song, I haven't heard since Stoke, and that was even without Rob on stage. So I would have loved that, but I can never not enjoy Angels.
Right.
I love that song live. So
there's a lot about knowing your audience as well, you know. They were giving the audience what they wanted from a dance perspective, and then Rob was giving them what they wanted from his perspective. So cool.
And was the staging with all the lights and everything, was it the same for every act, or did it change at all for them?
Yeah, the only thing that was different was obviously what was shown on the screens, and and the confetti came in different colors.
Okay.
But apart from that, and again, many of the acts just came on stage to carry on from the previous, so there wasn't time to set anything up or change anything.
Okay, but it was just the same for Lufthaus as it was with everyone else.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you also play a bit of rock DJ? Did I read that?
Yes. Yeah, he did actually. That's right. It was as I remember, very very short bit, but definitely, and that was in the beginning.
Yeah.
Of the gig, and I think they played part of Ringo.
Yeah, they did. I saw that on one of the videos.
Yeah. But Rock DJ got a very short time. And then Feel and Angels. I think it would have been so much easier with a set list.
Yeah, I know.
Or if someone had recorded the entire gig.
Yeah. I mean, you recorded snippets, but even I couldn't work out what some of the snippets were.
Well, here's our contacts. Let's see if we can get one. Maybe if we do get one, we can put it on the website, add it to the episode notes for this one.
And then when Rob finished, did you just leave straight away?
Yes. That was so funny because we actually, they finished on time, which was at 9, and we were back at the hotel in Warrington at 9:30.
With your ears ringing.
Just take me out of here.
Well, you missed the rush of people going out at the end. That's good.
Yes, exactly. Well, that was another. We had to be happy that it wasn't later than 8 to 9.
Yeah,
it could have been midnight or whatever.
Yeah,
which would have been horrible. But now we went to. We were out so quick that the shuttle bus didn't start driving until 10, so we just went to get a taxi.
Right.
Going back to the hotel. And it was quite funny because I looked at my watch when we got back to see how, because I knew we had been quick.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the time when people were leaving anyway, so it was easy coming out. So
yeah.
We made it in half an hour from being at the front row till we were back at the hotel.
Excellent.
Yep.
We must also say thank you for sending us all your little videos and recording some snippets, which we were able to turn into a reel to share.
Yeah, thank you.
For everyone.
Yeah, you're absolutely welcome. Again, it's different from a normal Robbie gig, which, to be fair, I mean, most of the songs everyone knows.
Yeah.
But this, at least for us, felt unique and like something we wanted to share with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
And also thank you to Jane with a Y for sending us hers as well.
Yeah, thank you, Jane.
Yeah, we met her as well. Yeah.
Yeah, we added that into the montage as well. So thanks for that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a funny moment because as I said before, once we had a few Robbie people at both of our sides, we sat down like we do when we get to the front before a gig. And at that time we realized, okay, at least those people know what we are doing and why we are here, which was nice because we didn't. I mean, we weren't sure how we were seen by the general audience at Creamfields.
I'm sure they just thought, they're there for Robbie.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, thank you, Christina, for joining us for a third time.
Yep.
On the podcast. I'm sure it won't be the last. We have. I'm sure that we're going to be meeting up again soon. We were just speculating on the film release, so.
It was a pleasure seeing you at Hyde Park.
Yeah,
and you.
Hyde Park was an endurance test, but it was worth it in the end, as it always is.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I think we'll see you in London soon, unless any other random events pop up in between, which you never know with Rob at the moment. He seems to be all over the place doing all sorts of different things. Yeah. But I think we're going to see you soon.
To see you in London.
Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully something happening in London anyway.
Fingers crossed. There will be something happening in London. Unless he surprises us all and does it in Stoke.
Yeah.
But I don't know about that. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, Christina.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, too.
And we will see you again soon.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, I'm Robbie Williams, and you're listening to Robbie Williams Rewind with the Champions.
And now we're delighted to welcome back onto the podcast Jocelyn from the USA. Hi, Jocelyn.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome back. Lovely to see you.
Thank you. Thank you. Lovely to see you too. I'm sorry you have to look at me in my current state, but that's how it goes.
So Jocelyn has been fortunate enough to have attended both the Telluride Film Festival in Colorado as well as the Toronto Film Festival, where she's seen Better Man a few times. We won't be discussing spoilers, except for the main one, which we think everyone knows already. But if you don't want to hear anything about the film at all, maybe tune out now and join us for our next episode. No one's going to do that, Lucy.
No, just in case.
We'll just talk about Jocelyn's experience and her stories at each festival and how the film was received.
Alrighty.
So the world premiere of Better Man took place at Telluride on Friday the 30th of August, which Rob attended with the film's director, Michael Gracie. So Jocelyn, why don't you start by telling us how you came to be lucky enough to be there?
Well, the irony is not lost on me that this film is being premiered in the United States, where he's least favored or known or whatever you want to call it. But yes, since I knew it was being premiered, and I understand that's for award situations so that they can be considered for awards, which is why they did it here, where they did it and how they did it. So it's not that America's their favorite place. It's just there's an award protocol. I've had to do a lot of research and learn a lot about film festivals and all of that. And I will say from the outset, I am not a film person. I am not an expert on any of this. So anything I'm saying is simply my opinion and my experience.
Right.
But yes, Telluride. When I found out I was going to be at Telluride, I went in to see how I could possibly go and see this. I had no idea that it was quite an arduous experience. Not just getting to Telluride itself. You have to not only fly there, and you have to fly and stop, and then you're still 2 hours outside of the actual area. And so then you have to rent a vehicle to take you there to get to Telluride. So it's not easy to just physically get there. And then because it's high in the air, you get prone to altitude sickness there, which, yes, I did get to have that. And that was an experience. So I'm just saying it was some work to get there. But when I first looked, there were no tickets available. And it's different than just going to a film. You have to everyone wears a pass. And there are different levels of passes. And it's not an inexpensive venture. And I'm not saying that because I spent a lot of money on it. I did have miles and I did have some discounts different places. So I cashed all those in. But I went as a volunteer because what happened was, since I saw there were no tickets, I thought there's got to be some way. What can I do? So I scoured that website for the 500th time, and it said volunteers. And I went, well, let me see what you got to do to be a volunteer. So that's part of the film festival kind of thing. They pride themselves on their volunteers. But there's no getting around that the Telluride Film Festival is, it's a posh affair, but it's not looking posh. It's, I think Rob just described it as, work boots and flannel shirts, and everybody's cool, and they're known for not stressing their celebrities out because they don't have a bunch of press corps coming in, and everyone's supposed to be really chill about everything. So I applied to be a volunteer, and I was very upfront, no pun intended, about my reasons for wanting to be there, because they did ask, why do you want to do this? And I said, I have a strong interest in the movie Better Man, and that I had gone to Australia to participate in it, and I'd gone to London like all of you guys, like all these other people have gone. And so I wasn't sure if that would help me or hurt me, but it helped me. They were intrigued by that. I also told them I was older, so that worked fine. They didn't care about that. And I was assigned as an event worker, which meant I had to work 30 hours. And it ended up, my capacity was working in the food service part. So I did a little of everything. And what that meant was, by working, I then received a pass. So if there was room, I could go to films. The way the films are done there, as I said, everyone wears a pass. And so, yes, there's a queue. There's a queue to wait. If you don't have tickets, there's a queue to all these different kind of queues. And so, but you're admitted by your pass. So I am very clear in saying that I was the Cinderella here. Because everyone got a pass got to go in before I did. And then if there's room, they'll let the workers in. But I did have that opportunity, and I could go to as many films as I could if I wasn't working. So my first night there, I did all sorts of things at a cookout. And in true, Cinderella fashion, the workers get to eat if there's something left, and if there's time, and if there's a space for you. So it's not glamorous, but I have to say it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to be around people who are so invested in this film world. It's a very different situation than being a fan of Rob's. That was made very clear right away. These people are there for films. They weren't there for Robbie Williams, the entertainer. So I did all of those jobs. I worked, as you said, a breakfast buffet, which was way up in the sky, that I had to start at 6:30 in the morning. And I worked quite a few hours there. And I was a counter, which meant I clicked all the people that came in. So that was interesting. I liked that job. My last day's work, I was assigned to the condiment table, which I had sort of snickered at and said, I'm going to squirt, ketchup and mustard, because it was a cookout. It ended up being quite a lot of work. And so I have, in this whole film festival at Telluride part, it was like when you run races and you're training. I have 2 toenails that are going to come off now because my feet were sliding in my shoes because I was going up and down hills and running around here and there and everywhere. And I did have altitude sickness, which hit quite heavily that first day, but I was able to deal with it thanks to Google and the people who live in Telluride. So that's my personal situation. And if you see pictures of Rob sucking on something, he doesn't have a vape or anything. That is canned oxygen, which I didn't know existed. He had the small can, I had the big can. It looks like, hairspray or something, and it weighs nothing, and it has a little mouthpiece you put on. So, yes, so he was sucking his oxygen up on the mountain the same as I was. So that's how I got into Telluride. I went in as a volunteer, and that's the boring part. But it was lovely. I mean, I did a little bit of everything from, serving food to washing dishes to taking down tables to you name it. I was there to serve. And at the condiment table, it actually was more than just ketchup and mustard and mayonnaise. They had lots of things, and it actually was quite hard work carrying these big, heavy trays and stuff. So it pushed my boundaries, and I was glad about that. And the reason I decided to do these film festivals, as I said a few minutes ago, it kind of closed the circle for me participating as a fan in this film. Yeah. So that's where I felt I wanted to be. So while I was working the buffet, actually, I'll back up a minute. Even though Telluride is a very small place and it looks like a movie set, it is absolutely gorgeous. If you can imagine being kind of down in a little area with these beautiful, majestic mountains all around you. And it's a very outdoorsy place, of course, lots of hikers and totally opposite to what I am. The first night when I got there, I got in late and they dropped me off at the end of a little street and said, you're going to, and it was dark. It was 11 o'clock at night. And they said, you'll have to walk across the bridge and then over the little incline. Whoa, over the bridge and the river. What? I had no idea where I was going. It was dark, and it's very dark in Telluride. I think they keep it that way so you can see the beauty of the stars at night and everything. But somehow it all worked out, as it always does when I'm doing Robbie stuff. So I made my way across the bridge, and I even said to them, well, what if the bears eat me? And they all kind of tittered. Well, come to find out, they have kind of permanent bear alerts there. There were bears in the park, and we had to be very careful with our food items because there were bears there, and they want to come and eat your food, and hopefully not you. But anyhow, so yes, I walked across the bridge with my suitcase and went into my little cabin. Everything is cabin-y looky there. Now, I have no idea what kind of place Rob stayed in. Again, it's on the street and it looks like an old-timey kind of thing. So he did not obviously stay where I was staying. So what happened the first night is I was trying to get back to my place. And even though, yes, I have a phone with maps and all that, I still managed to walk around in circles a lot because was it Elm Street or Poplar Street or Fir Street? I would get very confused. So I crossed a corner near where I thought I was supposed to be, and I saw someone that looked very familiar, and it was not Rob, but it was Gary, his bodyguard. And so I pivoted around and went back, and I said, I know you. How are you? And he said, fine. How do you know me? And kind of laughed. And I said, well, you know how I know you. And I said, well, wait a minute. If you're here, should I be looking for someone else? And he said, well, he's at a dinner, blah, 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 blah. So he was always with, kind of whatever. I never went out looking for him. I don't do stuff like that. Probably if I had walked around in the town on my time off, I probably could have seen lots of famous people, but I didn't do that. That's just not my thing to do. And plus I was still trying to get some oxygen in my body. So I was resting between times. But anyhow, so they kind of pointed, he was with another person, and they pointed me towards where my street was, and I got back. And so that's that. So that was the first sighting. So then the next morning I had to be early at the buffet brunch. And since it was so early, I thought, there's no way anybody I'm going to know who's here. Well, the problem is there were lots of famous people there. And I can't tell you who they were because I'm not good at recognizing that. And I only wish someone who could have appreciated that had been there in my place. For instance, Angie from Australia, she would have known every single person who was there. And I probably didn't appreciate it the way I should have. So I was working away, and over the corner of my tent where I was doling out corn cakes to people, I saw Gary again. And so I meandered over there because I wasn't working at that very second, and said, well, hello again. He was very gracious and very kind. And again, it took my brain a while to click. And I said, well, wait a minute. Where is the big guy? You know, where is he? And he pointed, and he was doing an interview. Rob was doing an interview. But he did come over, lovely as always. We hugged and did all of that good stuff. And I know somebody just recently said, you've met him a few times, but you don't have many pictures. And I said, I never, ever ask for a picture. I just don't do that. I'd rather talk to him anytime. So, but yes, he was lovely. He wanted to know why I was there. So I gave him the short version. And he said, oh, you're working? Yep. I'm volunteering. So he seemed genuinely touched. So I was touched too. And, you know, a big softie for him. So he always is so funny, though. He always acts surprised that you're there. Like, not because, well, that one was kind of weird. I'm not going to lie. But it's like, so you're coming to the film tonight? You come to the premiere? And I said, well, of course. It's like, are you kidding? Jeez. So yes, I did go to the premiere that night, and I was overwhelmed. I was just overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed that it's here. This is it. I couldn't take it in properly, and I left there. Plus, you know, I'd seen Rob, so, you know, that's already up there on the list. And, you know, you're sitting in this theater, and, you know, he's walking around, and they go up and talk. They go up in front and say a few words before the movie starts, and then you watch the film, and then they talk some more after the film, and then they kind of take off. And as I said, everyone's very chill about it. So for that showing, it was obvious that people enjoyed it from their after talk. But Telluride has that whole culture of being very chill and cool about the stuff. And the people that I spoke to afterwards, when I had to ride the gondola back down, because this film was shown in a theater that was up on a mountain. So you had to take the gondola up there to get there. Oh. So,
right.
Yeah, this was just a little too outdoorsy for me. But anyhow, it was lovely. I did not encounter anybody when I queued or anything who really knew who Rob was. They were intrigued by the movie. And so that's what I'm going to say that was very evident. It was a big switch over from being a fan, going to a show, being in Robbie World, to suddenly being in this whole new arena of, this is film world. This is a whole change for him. And he has no more swag here, draw, whatever, than the director. The director actually probably has a little bit more. So I kind of feel like that's the metaphor with it coming to America first, or coming to North America. You're not seeing Robbie Williams, the entertainer here. You're seeing Robbie Williams' movie here. And it's very different to be seeing his film than seeing him as an entertainer. They're two very separate things. And I think when people see the film, they'll understand that there's the excitement of it's Robbie, it's Robbie, it's Robbie, to the, it's a film. It's a film about someone's life. Of course, we're drawn to it because we're fans and we love him. But anybody, whether they know him, don't know him, they're going to be drawn to it, I think, and understand what's being said in that, and find parts that they go, oh my gosh, I can identify with. But it is that switch over. So in a way, I guess it's sort of appropriate that it starts over here because, or started over here in North America, because it's a whole different category and it's very different. So I think when fans see it, if you don't take off your fan glasses, and you might have to see it twice because you might want to watch them first with fan glasses, and you might have criticisms then. But then if you watch it through, God, I sound like, as Rob describes it, very namaste. If you watch it through the film glasses, you see it in a whole different way, and I think you really appreciate it. You really like it. So I saw it more than once in Telluride, and I'm glad I did, because that second night it literally was like, oh wow, I didn't even understand that. The other thing I'm going to say about that film is, those of you who are, has been described, the real fans, the ones who've been there since the very beginning, especially the Brit fans, it's going to have so much relevance for you, because there is a big learning curve you have to do to understand some of the little details in there. And what Michael Gracie did say is that there are lots of, as he called them, little nuggets or little Easter eggs for the fans. And you guys will really appreciate that part. I was playing catch up, as I always am, with, things that Rob has done, because I don't think it's a secret. I came in much later. But there's a lot of take that references, and there's a lot of references to things that happened those early years that you will immediately connect to, that I had to have a little bit of thinking about it. I did know a little bit about it, but I have a feeling a lot of people in the United States or even in Canada might not immediately see that or understand that. But the film in of itself stands alone, and it's just a fabulous film. Yes, I did cry, and his music is fabulous in this film. I did have the lucky chance to speak to Michael Gracie, and so he now does know who I am, which is why I really don't think I should show up at a film for another time, because I look like a stalker or something. What's warmed my heart, and this sounds very egotistical, but the things that I understood from the film, he validated. And there were even some things that I will say about the film festivals being slightly different, that I just saw an interview last night with Rob, which validated my feelings about the two different festivals and how it was received. But it was received well. The people I spoke to afterwards all said the same thing, that they were going to go research Robbie Williams. They can't believe they didn't know anything about him. They didn't know. And one of them said, I'm a big music buff, and I don't understand why I didn't know anything about this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I did not hear one person leave with, anything other than admiration for the film.
Oh, that's really good.
But like I said, there were a few people who were curious about Robbie. But these people are into their films. They know all there is about films. So, and I think Michael Gracie, of course, people know who he is because of his previous movies. So that's what my big point is, that it's real different to be in these situations as a fan when you don't have to fight to be first in the queue, because there's nobody else who, in fact, they're asking, do you know anything about me? And I did finally start being honest with people. I told them that I had a purpose for being there, because everyone says the same thing when you're waiting to go into a film. So what have you seen? Better Man. Well, that's what we're queuing for now. And they do call it a queue, by the way. And it's like, finally, I just started being upfront with people and said, I'm a real fan of his, and I have, a vested interest in this film. As silly as it may be, that I'm just know that my body was there. You can't see. If people can see themselves, good on them, because, I don't have good eyesight, and I tried to look, and I don't know. I don't know how people will see themselves, because things that we all participated in, they've been modified. So yes, we're there, but everything's modified, both in Australia and both in the UK. So I saw some people that I knew were in the audience, but they're not people I know. So it will make sense when you see it. So that was Telluride, and I've probably talked too much. That's only one. Do you want to hear about the other one or not?
That's a great story,
do.
though. I mean, what a way to experience the film. Like you say, it was, you worked hard to have your place there.
Yes, and that was my
Sounds
adventure
amazing.
part. And so I'm very proud of myself for doing that because I've been retired for a little bit and I haven't been in that work mode where you have to
Yeah.
be there at 6:30. You don't get a choice. No, you have to be there. No, you are a servant to some degree, where you're serving people. And, you're kind of invisible in some regards. Of course, Rob never makes you feel that way, but, and there were lovely people. And I got to meet Bing the dog. I did not know this dog was a big celebrity. Apparently he is. And I'm not sure what movie, but Bing, this giant of a dog. And I saw him at both film festivals. So that's the other famous person or famous whatever I saw. Bing the dog. So I'm proud to say I've met Bing. So that's where I am with Telluride. Or Telluride. I probably never pronounce it right. I don't know.
Is it Telluride? That's what it looks like.
Well, when I hear people say it, it almost sounds like they say Telluride, but I think they're saying the U a different way than I do. So I don't know. But so that's the story of Telluride. And then I came home for 3 days and decided, since I now had Air Canada miles to use up, I used those and told my husband and dogs that I was going to leave for a short time because I had looked over the schedule and it looked like he was only going to be there, Rob, one night for the grand opening. What I was really interested in there was the red carpet. So I really was keen to do that, never have done such a thing. And the film played, and Toronto is a much longer film festival. Telluride happens over our Labor Day weekend, which is a 3-day weekend. And so it's just kind of a 3-day event. And it has lots of, it's very outdoorsy. It's a picnic outside, and it's a this outside and a that outside. So Toronto is very different because you're going to a big city. It's much more approachable. You've got workers going back and forth to work downtown. You've got people who can drive in. It's not the arduous kind of get in there and whatever.
Yeah.
You still have the real film people, but what you have are also people who can go in and just get one ticket and go see one film. Yeah. So you have a more casual's not even the right word. It's just a whole different thing. And I've tried to figure out something that's comparable. And frankly, I can't think of something that's comparable. But yeah, so it's a lot busier. It's a lot more, dare I say, buzzier kind of thing. But again, there are lots of rituals and routines you have to do and figure out. And so I've been doing my stay. It's interesting because with Rob and his music, since I've joined up, following Rob, I've had to learn a lot of things. And so I'm always having to look up songs that you guys know automatically. Oasis, for instance, Australian songs. There are a lot of things that I have no idea what those things are. We just either didn't get them here or I just was oblivious. I don't know. So anyhow, so Toronto is very buzzy. It's a lovely place. And you're on city streets now. And for some reason, I don't get lost in a city. Somehow I did in this little Telluride place. So got there, figured out that you were supposed to get, if you wanted to go to the red carpet, that was free, but you had to go get a band in the morning. And those bands were for any film you wanted to see, but you had to be specific which one you were choosing. So it said from 9 to 10:30, and it was a pouring down rain. And so I thought, oh yeah, I know how to do this. So I was there at 8:30, kind of feeling silly. Yeah, no. That queue wrapped everywhere. And
oh God.
I was a little dismayed when, before it even started, someone came out and said, I'm just going to tell you, we're going to run out of bands for the films, whatever. But as you know, we don't give up. So I thought, yeah, because the little group around me all started chatting and we said, well, they're passing out bands for all the films. So that doesn't mean our film will run out. Well, it did mean their film would run out because they were there to see Selena Gomez. And I kind of gauged the crowd and I noticed they all, I think, were Selena fans. And yes, their bands did run out. But even they didn't give up because what everybody did was they got up there and they just took a band for some film. And then you can always go and wait in another queue right before the whatever film or the red carpet. Yeah. And if somebody doesn't show up, then they might let you in. Well, because people take so many bands, I thought there's a good chance. However, it became kind of the running joke of, they would come out and announce which films. Better Man never came up. In fact, when I got up there, he said, oh, good, you're here for, one, you're getting a really good spot and blah, blah, blah. Okay, whatever. So I had to have someone show me where I was supposed to stand. It's not straightforward because that's done in a whole different area. And then the theater's a different place than the red carpet. And that was a concern I had because in Toronto, to go to the films, you have to be in your seat a half an hour before the film starts. Or they can give your seat away to one of the people who are waiting in the rush lines. So you have to be very cognizant of queues and lines and where everybody is. So I just learned to, ask a lot of questions. But anyhow, so time for red carpet. You had to be there 2 hours before the film. So that meant I was supposed to be there at 3:30. So I had got my band, felt like I had won the lottery, went and got things and kind of hung out in my room and thought, why am I waiting here? Well, it was pouring rain, but I went over. So I was there at 1:30 and there were people there. And I thought, oh, man, so that feeling of the Robbie queue, keeps with you like, oh, my God, I'm not first in the queue. Yeah. Well, I was. Those people were there for a 9:30 movie. So I was the first one for the Robbie movie. So I waited, and by the time the red carpet came in, I'm sorry, Rob, if you ever hear this, there were 3 of us. And so I got to choose my spot. Now, I will say the 3 of us were solid fans. The other 2 girls were Take That fans. One was a hardcore Robbie fan, but they don't travel to see him. So they'd not seen him for a while. So these were childhood memories of them. There were a few people that went in the rush line to hope that they could get in. Yeah, they got in. And then while we were waiting, because you have to wait yet about an hour, the celebrities drive up in their car. They let them off at the end there, and then they walk in. And so they kind of give you a pep talk before everything. Well, they brought other people in that were waiting for the other movies just so they could have a loud cheering section. So I'm sorry, Rob, some of those people didn't know who you were, even though they were playing. They were playing Robbie music. I had the unfortunate experience of having a girl push her way up next to me who apparently goes to all these just to get celebrity pictures. That's a thing. People are real into these films and they just want celebrity. She had no idea who he was. And I finally had to be bold. And I said, look, this is my special experience. Please do not get in front of me. Oh no, I won't. Well, her whole time was when someone would come up because, Michael Gracie came over and said hi. And so we had our little moment. Then Michael from Rob's people came over and saw me and it was like, oh, hi, blah, blah, blah. And I saw Gary. I saw Leo. I saw all of those people. And then every time one of them would come up, this person would say, is that someone famous? Is that someone I should know? And I really just wanted to scream. And then she's telling the people behind her, he's some actor guy who sings. She was referring to Rob. And she said, I don't know any of his songs. She said, would I know some of his songs? And I said, well, they're playing on the speakers right now. So the other 2 girls and I were kind of having a slow death through all of this. But anyhow, so I'm just saying, it's not all what it appears sometimes in those pictures. And I am a little miffed because there's a big picture of him, and I think some of them could be fans, but I think there are a lot that just were there for the celebrity of it. So again, it's a different ritual than being a Rob fan. They're there just for the celebrity. They want to see anybody who's a celebrity and have a, quote, selfie, their words, because this girl next to me nearly shoved me down, screaming at Rob when she said, "Is that him?" And I said, "Yes." "Can I have a selfie? Can I have a selfie?" Oh my gosh. But he did come over, said, "What do you think?" And I kind of touched my chest and, smiled. And that's kind of how we corresponded on the red carpet. So nothing horribly exciting, but yes, he knew I was there, and we had our moment that was very meaningful. And I did not get a selfie with him.
Hi, I'm Robbie Williams, and you're listening to Robbie Williams Rewind with the Champions.
So they walk the red carpet. People call them over. They do interviews there, which we can't hear, but we can see everything up on a big screen. And he looked absolutely gorgeous. When you see people on that red carpet, a lot of them are the industry people or the Paramount people or all of those. You're told to cheer for anyone on the red carpet. But when Rob got out of that car, you knew he was it. He has that aura about him. He has that whole way of being. And the only other people I've ever seen like that is when I went to see Charles and Diana back in the day when they would do walkabouts. And there was a glow, a look about them. And I know it sounds cheesy and corny, but he had that same look. And it was very obvious he was there. I would imagine it's not real comfortable for him, but I'm just speculating. I don't know, because all these people are yelling at you and clamoring. And at one point he even said, "Hold on, everybody, just a minute," But he's always gracious and kind. But when he stepped out of the car, there's no doubt that he's the star there. I mean, he just has that persona. And that was mentioned by Jono in when he did one of his after talks. He said that, Rob has, if you watch anything, has that whole, persona. Rob made reference to his father, that you always go away liking his father, and he has a real charm about him and all of that. Well, Rob needs to realize he has that too, and I think he knows that sort of, but I'm sure there's always that.
He definitely does have it.
And it's just there. It's just there. So I did have enough time, because once he got to the midway point of the red carpet, I couldn't see him anymore. So I sped out of there and went over to get to the film. However, I could have watched him again on the red carpet on the other half, but I really didn't want to do that since I had kind of seen him, and he's very busy on the red carpet. I mean, everybody's asking questions. You've got professional photographers there. You've got these interview people who call him over. There was one side of the red carpet across from us where some of the people had gone, and I don't think he ever made it over there, because it's just, I don't know how you would keep track. So you'd need to have somebody kind of leading you along. And they do have somebody, but, it's quite a thing. And then they're yelling for the other people. So I went in to see the film there. And they did speak there, and I learned even more things about the film. So that's why I enjoyed going several times to the film, because in addition to me understanding the film, they come out, when I say they, the director, sometimes Rob, sometimes Jono, and they talked about things that happened, and questions are asked, not necessarily by the audience, although one of them I went to, the audience had a chance. But they fill you in on things that maybe you didn't notice. And I even noticed that as we went along, there was more being discussed, because I think people were picking up more and more and more from the film. It started out with them just explaining, this is why he has a monkey. This is why he's a monkey. And you've all probably heard why that's been explained. But then it became more detailed about some things that happened in the film that, if you're a fan, and especially for you guys who've been from the beginning, you might question some of that, like, What? But it's that license that they take to fill out the story and to make it a good film. And that's what they were going for, is to make a good film. So, but in Toronto, unlike Telluride, the audience really participates. Like, they clapped after music numbers. There was a lot of vocalization. There was a lot of, it didn't seem, and I don't want to use the word pretentious because I'm not criticizing anything about Telluride, but it felt just a little more like the way we would approach that, you know. And I don't know how many of the people in that audience were fans versus just film goers. I couldn't say, but it was very much that first night. It was, it was a really enthusiastic, participatory group of people. He got standing ovation. He was up high. And ironically, that's where my original seat had been. And at the last minute, because when you're by yourself, you have a little more flexibility, I got a ticket way down in the front. And the tickets are not expensive. I'm going to emphasize that. They're movie price. I don't know how much a movie costs now, but I'm saying within a $20 range. So I was more than happy to switch my seats. So I got to be close to the stage when they were talking. But if I'd stayed up there, I would have sat behind him during the film, I think. But so that's what that's the fan perspective of it. But he got a little weepy at the standing ovation, and it was well deserved. And people were just quite enthusiastic. So he came down, got on the stage, and when they started the questions and answers, just with the interview up there, he really was emotional. He was deeply emotional, like he couldn't stop crying. And it was very hard to watch him do that because, of course, you want to run up there and give him a big old hug and say it's okay. And everyone in my area, they were the same way. They weren't necessarily fans of his so much, but we were all very emotional with him. And so it was a wonderful experience. It was just, it was hard to watch because he really was overcome. And I do wonder if some of that was almost that relief that you have once you've gone through these things and you're, oh my gosh, and you finally get up there and here's this wonderful, response. And it's probably a sense of relief too. So that would be my perspective on it. But yeah, it was very touching, and they all handled it very well. And that was the night, I think that was the same night that I will tell an insider thing, towards the end of it, when they were kind of joking around, Michael Gracie said, and was anyone else kind of transfixed by when Rob's new tooth popped off? And apparently one of his, so if you see pictures now, he is missing a little tooth up there. So one of his veneers popped off, and I think he tucked it in his pocket.
Was that during the Q&A while he was up on stage?
Yes. So after he'd been emotional, then his tooth popped off. So I've noticed that it is kind of missing in some pictures. So
I've spotted that now since I've heard about it.
And actually, when I saw him in Telluride, I was sort of teasing him, and I said, well, I did lie to you. I didn't really come here for the film. I just came to see your new teeth. So he gave me a big dazzling smile. And so anywho.
Do they look good?
Yeah, they look lovely because they're still his teeth. They're just a little brighter, but they don't look like, Hollywood teeth or over their turkey teeth or any of those. No, they look normal. They look...
But they are the temporary ones, though, aren't they?
Yes,
so yes. The permanent ones are put in.
So then I went to the film the second night. And again, I was in a whole different mindset here because I was an actual film goer. And that all worked out perfectly, went straight in. And Michael Gracie came up and told some different things about the film. But I went, oh, okay. And that was the night, though, it was at a different theater. This theater, I had front row seats, which was not a good choice because it hurt. It was horrible. There weren't very many people up in the front row. And there was a woman with her husband, and we were laughing because we were in the front row. She said, "Oh my gosh, how did we get in these seats? We were strangers and didn't know each other." And I said, "Oh, I actually picked mine." I said, "I guess I didn't think it through very well that I'd be like just feet away from this giant screen, and you really could not, you couldn't see properly. I mean, there's just no way you couldn't see properly this film.
You can't take it all in.
No, I mean, you can only see like the bottom of them, and even with the seats reclining, it was like uncomfortable. So we had all made the decision. There was room behind us. We were all going to move. They said we could move once the film started. Okay, fine. So Michael came and talked a little bit, and he said, and we'll be back up afterwards, and Rob's actually going to be here. So she and I kind of looked at each other, and we went, oh, I think we'll be staying in these first rows, because this time they didn't go up on a stage. They just stood down there. So it was just like inches from my feet. So it was like, yeah, this will work. So watch the film. I'm going to tell the truth. I did have to close my eyes and just listen to the dialogue because I was getting nauseous from being up so close. So anyhow, so Rob and Michael came down, and then I noticed a lot of Rob's group were standing over on the stairs, and apparently he had come in, sat a few rows behind me, and then just came down. And he was, wearing a cute little outfit, so I was giving him thumbs up about his outfit. And he did put 5 up, like, this is your 5th time, because I think it was his 5th time too. They did tell that they had not seen the film version that we all saw until they got to Telluride because of edits, I guess, and so on. So Rob seeing the film in a theater along with Michael Gracie, they were kind of first timers there at Telluride too. And then Rob explained he had seen it with friends and family. I think we've all heard that. And then he was catching bits of it as he was, I don't know how much he saw the film in total, but he was at all of the things I went to. So that was nice. Or, and Michael was at all of them, but Rob wasn't at the last one in Telluride. He had flown the coop. So anyhow, Rob came down, and this time they let people ask questions. They asked questions about if his family had seen the film. They asked questions, how does it make him feel, and so on and so forth. Again, they're very film-oriented or very how are you feeling kind of questions. There was someone who did ask about, the difference between being there versus being on a stage when he's performing. And so he had some answers for that probably are what we all kind of understand. There are 2 very different feelings. So I would say when you're seeing the film and when you see Rob at the films, you're seeing Rob. As he's explained, when you're seeing him on the stage, we know he's Robbie Williams, the performer, but I didn't feel that was ever the person we saw. Occasionally he would say a few things because he's, of course, very witty and funny, that were probably Robbie things, but it was Rob showing up for that. So it was like the under the radar stuff. That's who was probably showing up at that. He didn't have pajamas on, but he looked very nice. So, but yeah, I think he was very comfortable after that, after it was all kind of out there. And I felt like he was very relaxed that second night. And they did tell some other things about the movie. There's a big dance scene in there that was very interesting that they had to get permission for. And there was a problem because the Queen died. They had to observe some mourning. And as a result, it delayed a lot of things and cost a lot of money for them. So I found that to be fascinating. So I like all of those little inside details as you're watching the film. That was the fun part for me. So by the time the 5th showing had ended, I was feeling like I'd been on this, emotional run. But I looked over and he was leaving with his entourage, and I went, what the heck? I'm going to do something I don't usually do. And I took off. So when I got near him, he was stopping along the way at their steady pace. They were on a mission to get to the cars. And it's a pretty big theater. You have to go up and down escalators and stuff. So as it happened, I guess I kind of made it happen. I'm not sure. I was on the stairs. He was on the escalator. I'm not too good on stairs, but I made myself be good on stairs that day. And he turned and said, hey, as usual. So we chatted as he went all the way down. He was kind of a captive audience, I guess. And we did usual silly conversations. And I did ask him, he wanted to know my favorite parts of the movie. And I told him I couldn't tell him because I would cry. And he said, oh, go on. And I said, no. And then he told me that I had not been commenting on Instagram. And I said, I comment every time you write. So I'm not sure what that's about. Maybe he just, I don't know.
That's weird.
Well,
You don't always see all the comments.
kind of broke
Yeah,
my
it's filtered.
heart. Just broke my heart.
Oh.
No, anyhow. So if you see comments that seem weird on there from me, not that anyone would look, that's why I'm saying some of the things I'm saying, because it's like, whatever. I will tell you, one of the things that really made me cry was that very first night in Telluride when his song came on at the end, and it runs through the credits. It's at the end.
Oh, yeah. Forbidden Road.
And as soon as he said, so do you love me now? I'm not kidding. It was like, because it was just like, oh my gosh, it's perfect. So, and I will tell you, watch the credits because that's the only time you see his actual face. So that's, I think, something everybody knows. There are little snapshots next to it, but the song is just beautiful. And each time I heard it, it had the same impact. So I did ask him a couple questions, but mostly it was just, I told him I was exhausted. I said, I got to go home. I said, I love you, but, I love you more now after I've seen the film, but I'm worn out. So, because it's very emotional to see some of that stuff. And I think people, I think people will feel that. As I said, I think the first time, more people will feel the whole Robbie part, like, wait, or whoa, or whatever. But if you watch it a second time, and maybe everyone will get it the first time, I might just be not catching on. I don't know. But I found it to be a very touching movie. It opened some things that I kind of wondered about. That was my experience. The only problem was I had no one to share it with because you guys are always asleep, meaning the UK and, Europe. I could share a little bit with my friend in Australia, Angie. But for the most part, I also was trying to be true to what they were asking, which is don't share a bunch of the movie. And sometimes you can't say things and not share part of the movie. So I can't tell the parts that really touched me or why or whatever without other people seeing the movies. So, so that's my adventure. Boring, I don't know, but it was quite an adventure. So it was probably one of my best Robbie adventures ever.
Oh, well, that's cool. Yeah. So I'm intrigued, thinking about how it's going to, and without giving any spoilers or anything, like you say, you can't tell us what your favourite parts, but how might it land in the US, do you think? Obviously he's over there, like you explained the reasons why they started there first for awards and getting the profile and everything else. Do you think for someone in the US that doesn't know him, that isn't a film buff, but just, they're an average person who enjoys going to cinema, keeps up with film and modern culture and things. Right. Does it create a hook for and I know I'm generalizing because, America's a big place, but would it create a hook, do you think, for people to dig a bit deeper? Even though he isn't specifically in the film, it is obviously about him. Right. I don't know. What's your view on that? Do you think it will create a bit of a pull in the US?
Well, that's what
maybe Canada. Canada's different because
Canada does know. Canada, the people that were in the queue, they did know who he was. Even though they weren't there for that reason, because that became the running joke. Like, don't say you want to be in for this movie because I'm here. And so they were in front of me and they were all being very kind of like, we'll get you a band and just give it to you. Okay, thank you. So there was a kindness. I've been thinking about that, and I don't I honestly can't say, because
Yeah.
the story is a lot more than just his music, and it stops at a certain place in his music. It's my understanding that in the United States, the place where this stops with swing music is a place that's already been pursued in America. Will people retro go back and say, let me find out some more? There's probably a handful of people that will do that. I tend to think it's probably going to be more coastal people, or people who are into a whole celebrity thing, or into some music. I don't know. That's what all of the people that I saw said. Well, we're going to go dig around a little more for him. Will it create a demand for him to come here and be Robbie the Entertainer? That I don't know. I'm not professional enough to even know that. I don't even know how much they'll put it in release. I learned that that's a big deal with these films, and I'm not professional. I do not understand this. I can only tell you the way I understand it. The way they back these films, I think there's like a level of backing, if that makes any sense. There's a backing to make the film. Then there's a backing, well, we'll give you enough money to put it in limited release. And so we'll put it in the art theaters, as we would call it. Or we're going to give you enough money that we're going to put it in every theater, you know. I don't know how that will even happen. I don't know what they will do. We were originally told Christmas in limited release, but now I'm seeing what's out there is January. So it's my opinion, and my guess is that maybe those are test runs with all these film festivals. But I've only seen good reviews, and they're not about Robbie, they're about the film. So your question is, will it make people go out and suddenly say, well, let's see if we can find a Robbie CD? Well, I guess nobody does CDs anymore, but at least the good part, there's access to Robbie music. Now, when I first came on board, you had to buy the CD, and you usually had to order it from overseas. So the good thing is they have access now. So it will be curious to see how the numbers go with that. If suddenly there's however people access their music these days, if that will increase that. Because the songs that are in there they're familiar songs to all of us, and some of them are take that songs.
Well, we've always said, haven't we? We've said it a few times, even before we knew there was a film coming, that because his songs are so biopic, that actually, or autobiographical probably is the word, that they would make a good soundtrack to a film. Yeah. And now they're in there. Yeah. So, have you got any questions, Lucy, for Jocelyn?
So, the main question really is about the monkey.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've spoken to you about it a bit on Messenger, but I think maybe if people don't want to know, maybe tune out now, and don't listen to Jocelyn's answer. But
and what's your question?
So the monkey, does it look anything like him, or you feel like it's Robbie, and Jono plays it, but
yes,
basically, what does it feel like watching the monkey?
Well, the first time that I saw it, because I did talk to Michael Gray. I sound so pretentious. I did speak to Michael Gracie afterwards. No, the second night that I saw it, I did tell Michael Gracie that I definitely saw Rob in the monkey. And I felt that it increased as time went on. There are some things that you'll recognize immediately that I'm not sure I even noticed, or that might be lost on anyone who's not familiar with Rob's history. But yes, and there's a particular body part, which you can just speculate what that is, that really is Rob. And that's acknowledged.
I've heard that. Michael has said that it's his eyes.
It is, and it very much is. And I felt they did a wonderful job of making you not realize, like, okay, this is really weird, but like there are a couple scenes where, he's kissing someone or something. They do it at an angle so that it's not like, ew, that's kind of weird. I never
I did wonder that.
I never felt it was weird. It's different, and I think some people, I told the director, I said, let's be clear. As a fan, and all of the fans, we go to see what Rob's looking like, what he's sounding like. That's why we go to those shows. We love him. We adore him. This is very different than that. So when you first are hit with a visual that's not the person we want to see, it's a bit jarring. But because it starts out at a different point in his life, it's not, you get used to it, and you actually become very emotional about this. So I did not find it off-putting. But the fact is, we all like to look at Rob. I mean, we like to see him. We think he has that charisma. He has that look that we just enjoy. And the monkey takes all that on. And that's where Jono was talking about his charisma, that he tried very hard to make sure he put that in there, because that's really, one of Rob's selling points. So I talk like I'm an expert or something. I'm not. I'm just a fan, as we all know.
It's fascinating to hear your point of view on it, because obviously there was so much speculation leading up to it. There were a couple of leaks about CGI monkey, and I was like, what's that?
Right.
And there was a lot of speculation around it. But I can't wait to see it, because from what I've heard from you and from the reviews, it's an incredible device to use in a biopic, rather than, like, there's been other really good biopics where people have played the person almost identically. Right. This is very clever to do it in a different way. I almost wonder whether you can actually do more with that metaphorical, monkey than you can with an identical copy of Robbie.
Good point.
If that sounds,
good point. No,
that
that's exactly, because one of the discussions they had towards the end, it was a very technical discussion, but that is one of the things they talked about. They said, when people go to see these biopics, there's always a criticism. Well, he doesn't look like him. Well, that's not what he. So by doing it this way, that was all taken away. Secondly, when they have, this is what was described, and again, I'm not a technical person for this. He described, like, if they do a big scene and they like everyone the way they looked in the scene, but maybe they didn't like the way the Rob person looked, they can somehow, through the magic of technology, change just what they need for that character within the frame and still use the frame. So they don't have all this wasted time. But yeah, if you're hiring 3 different actors and they're trying to look like Rob, sound like him, whatever, you're still going to have some people that are unhappy about it and say, that doesn't even look like him. That looks like so-and-so. Yeah. Where this kind of took that away, but you still see him in it. As I said, it didn't look like someone in a Halloween costume. I'm going to say that. It doesn't look anything weird like that. It looks, you just get used to it, and then it makes sense. And it makes sense when you know that they're saying over and over, that's how he saw himself. That's how he wanted to be portrayed. So to me, that needs to be honored too. That, actually the joke that Michael Gracie kept telling was he had heard Rob make those references over and over. And it reminded me, there was an article, and I know you guys would have read it, in one of the magazines. It's been a while ago. And it was somebody who had interviewed Rob over many times, and I don't remember which magazine it was. And I remembered the comment at the time. It struck my brain, and it stayed in there, believe it or not. They said, when Rob came in, he was describing his walk. He said, and Rob always has a bit of that simian appearance about him when he's in his mode. And I kept thinking of that. I thought there was another reference to that whole monkey business. That didn't come out right, but you know what I mean. And so, but what he said was and I don't know the veracity of this, but this is the story that was told, that he told Rob that he saw him as a monkey, because this was all pieced together from conversations they had. There was no, again, I'm repeating, and I don't think I'm giving anything away. They didn't go in saying, we're going to make a Robbie movie. Let me get some information. He actually had been speaking to Rob over and over and over, and he was quite taken with the way Rob told his stories. And so then he was kind of piecing together, what can I use? How is this going to fit in? So he went to tell him, you look there's an animal I keep thinking about with you. What do you think the animal is? And apparently Rob, in his way, chuckled and said, a lion. And he went, oh. And then he conferred and said, no, it's a monkey. And so that's how they kind of evolved all of this. But this was a Gracie kind of image of how can I make now a movie, because he didn't start out thinking, I want to make a movie about Robbie Williams, even though he was quite taken with him. It went on and it just evolved into all of this. Now that's how I understand it. That's maybe not exactly how they explained it. I don't know, but I don't, that's why it was fascinating to go to all of those and to hear that, yes, through CGI, they were able to actually make the film much, I won't say easier, that's not the word, but they could use more pieces of the film. And it wasn't the old, take 52, because they had things they could use and that people were going to complain no matter, I shouldn't say complain, but say, that doesn't look like him, or that's not how he'd do that. There are some things in there definitely you'll all see and go, seriously? So if you're looking for a line-by-line biopic that's true to the absolute nth degree, you're not going to always see that, but you'll see a lot of things that are familiar.
Yeah.
And that you will know a lot more about than me.
Right.
Hi, I'm Robbie Williams, and you're listening to Robbie Williams Rewind with the Champions.
Just going back to Forbidden Road.
Yes.
I just wanted to let everyone know that basically Rob has said that he wrote that with Freddie Wexler, who's a Grammy-nominated American songwriter and producer who's written with Ariana Grande, Justin Bieber, Blackpink, Celine Dion, Jonas Brothers, Pink, Kanye, Selena Gomez and Billy Joel. And his music is featured in TV shows and films like Grey's Anatomy, 50 Shades, The Bachelorette and Emily in Paris.
Wow. And
Rob did also say in one of the interviews that he kept sending songs that he thought were gold to Michael Gracie.
Right.
And it tore him apart when Michael kept saying they weren't right until Rob watched the whole movie and then wrote Forbidden Road, and then Michael told him it was perfect.
Yeah.
So it obviously is perfect from what you've seen. And I've played it a lot because thankfully someone recorded and shared him performing it at the after party in Toronto, which we've shared on our Instagram. So yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful song.
I did have to ask about the after party, and it was a very awkward moment because I asked security people because I kept getting these messages that he was going to have this thing, and that hotel was, apparently that was his. I don't know. Some people next to me, I kept my mouth shut, didn't say, how could you? Said, oh, well, we've been hanging out by his hotel all day. I was like, we don't do that, but whatever. So I did say, okay, I'm just going to ask because I'm getting these messages about, and I would just cry if I thought 2 blocks from me there had been something I could see. And I was told, no, it's a very private party in a very kind way, not by him, by other people. But I did ask because I thought, oh man, that's just like
it's worth asking.
Cherry on the Sunday.
You never know.
Well, no. And there was a little momentary part of me that thought, maybe I should just walk down there and maybe somebody, no. And I did not do that. In fact, I went back to my hotel and the lift was broken and I had to go across the street and eat pizza while I waited for them to fix it. So it was very unglamorous. None of anything that I did was glamorous at either one of these film festivals. And I also want to emphasize I did it on a budget, a very small budget. So.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you're a very experienced traveller, so you know how to do that.
Well, I got to use up all those miles, so now I have to start fresh.
And obviously, Jocelyn, you've confirmed how great the film is, and it's had lots of great reviews in the media. So obviously, we've been keeping track of the different articles and things that have come out. It's had 4 stars in The Guardian, where they say Robbie Williams' monkey biopic is a bananas gamble that pays off.
Yep.
The life of the ego-driven showman is turned into an unlikely yet surprisingly entertaining saga with a CGI monkey in the lead.
And Mashable said, while the cadences of Williams's story fall into a familiar pattern, allowing himself to be presented as a literal animal brings a fresh perspective and an enthralling blend of humour and vulnerability. This results in the best music biopic since the rousing splendour of Elton John's Rocket Man, which Gracie notably executive produced.
Right.
Brilliant. So it really is getting a good reception. I mean, there's many more reviews that have come out recently. And people seem to have... everyone's being good at not putting spoilers out.
Well,
mostly. There was a few more in-depth ones, you're right, actually.
But
they've got interesting things to say about it. It isn't the usual, it isn't the usual sort of, Robbie Williams, pop star in the UK, and it's more. They seem to say more interesting things about the film.
Yeah,
right.
They obviously mention him, but it's not like the headlines of the old days where they're leading with,
Yeah.
I won't go into them, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Right. I noticed that too. That's why I was really pleased and anxious to see how overseas reviews would be, because there's a whole different vision of him, a whole different interaction with him that we don't relate to so much over here. And so here you're just going to see the film being discussed, whereas over there you're going to get more into Robbie and all of this stuff. And I felt like they were pretty fair with it, and it reminded me of something that I had either read or they said, and I've gone right out of my head regarding some of those reviews. But yeah, I think that's what everyone's going to find is. That's why I want to keep emphasizing this is only my opinion from a very limited knowledge of the Robbie Williams experience from the beginning. And I mean, I'm not going to pretend like, I can speak for everyone and how they're going to feel about it. But that's how I felt about it.
Well,
I thought it went
nice to have your
down.
perspective.
I thought it went down well as a film here in the places I went. And there is another film festival that's going to feature it, October 10th. It says that Gracie will be there and that Jono will be there. It does not mention Rob, but it's in the northern part of my state. And I, gave a casual thing. Even with the lure of Rob could show up there, I'm not doing it because I just would feel like a weird stalker person. I mean, there is a limit. But I do want to see it again.
You'll know the script by then.
Well, I kind of do now. Like I said, I watched it with my eyes closed for a while. I would like to see it with Robbie people. I really want to see it with people that I know are experts, and also with that same enthusiasm for him. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that because we don't have any around here. Even though the lady who lives across the hall from me does know who he is because she went to see him once in Vegas. So she's aware of him, but she kind of rolls her eyes like, okay, what's the latest? So she's not she's not avid. But I really do want that experience. And I know, poor me, but I did miss that. I missed not being able to share that excitement that only everybody else would understand, of like just the fact that you saw him. Oh my gosh, and so, but he's a lovely man. And like I said, I love him more after seeing the film. You just want to give him a big old hug, and everybody wants to give him a big hug, but yes. So anyhow, but yeah, when you were talking about the reviews, as I said, there was something that sprang in my brain, but I don't remember. And I will say, everything that I've read and everything I've heard always matches kind of how I have felt without reading it, or if that makes any sense. So I don't feel like I'm way out there in some, other land. Like, no, that's not it at all. I feel like I have absorbed it. So, but yeah, I would love to go hear what they had to say at the other film festival, but I have no plans to go. Although I did see when the tickets went on sale. And senior citizens
So
get a
never say never.
discount. Well,
Oh, wow.
yeah, it would only be
Never say never,
it
Jocelyn.
would only be $17. But I have to have airfare and a hotel, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might have to go in a, like a disguise or something. Well, I mean, I'm serious. You never know. People are nice to you about it to your face, but at the same time, you're hoping in the back of their mind, they're not going, "Oh my God, there she is again. What a weirdo." So,
Well, the thing is, when it happens over here, or whatever happens, there will be a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
So you had the unique advantage of there not being hordes of loads of other people, there.
Well, yes.
I know you said you wanted them there, but you had that uniqueness. But over here, people will be going to lots of events several times, I'm sure.
If there are events, we hope
If
so.
there are, you never know.
well, that's what I'd
never
like
know.
to know. I'm hoping that it happens the same. I'm hoping you get those premieres and that fun time. And I think it would be expanded. I'm guessing it would be expanded a bit more because there's a lot more knowledge base.
We're hoping for a premiere in London.
That would be
I
nice.
joked with Christina earlier on, we were chatting with her that maybe it'll be in Stoke, but
Well, actually,
knows?
that's what my husband asked. He said, well, maybe he'll go there. And I said, I don't know, but I don't know these things. So I know he certainly has snuck into Moco with his exhibit, but maybe he'll do something later. But, we all got lucky with Barcelona and Amsterdam, and he kind of sneaked on into Moco. It's like, oh, there's an exhibit already there. Okay.
yeah, it just happened. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I think that sort of is that metaphor. He indicated he has a lot of things he's really interested in doing right now. And so, like I said, that's kind of a metaphor for what happened here. Like, this is a new realm for him, that whole art thing, and it's a new realm for the fans too. I mean, we're used to seeing him in one image, and now he's got other images and other people that want to see him for different reasons. So that's
And
kind of
Lucy,
how I felt about it.
You know better than me, but obviously with your PR background, he's got so many different things he can talk about and promote. I guess the film company are quite keen for him to focus on the film quite a lot of the time, right? So it's not that he can't talk about other things, but they've got to be selective with the overexposure or the multitude of things that he is doing. Right?
But also, if the film company are paying for the promo and everything.
So
Exactly.
An album, I don't know.
yeah. Well, we know it's all coming. It's all coming at some point.
Yes.
So we are looking forward to seeing it.
I'd like to see a proper, whatever those are called. Are they called promos for the film? I don't know. All we ever
Trailer, do you mean?
Trailer, thank you.
Yeah.
I told you I was not a film person. I'd like to see a proper trailer because what
we all would.
you see now is, what you see now is the female is from the movie, and then Michael Gracie's just in there, but they weren't connected that way. So that picture is a little playing around there. So, but I think the trailer would help. And the only other picture you've seen from the back, there's your first image of the monkey. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Because of the way some things happen in the film, when I first saw it, I kept thinking, okay, is he suddenly going to pop out? And other people mentioned this. Is he suddenly going to pop out at the end as Rob? Because you think, well, maybe that's how they're working it, So don't listen if you don't want to know, but he is a monkey through the whole thing. There is no sudden boop. And when I spoke to Michael Gracie about that, I told him that, and he said that had been a thought. And I said, well, it would have been kind of cheesy, really. I think it would have really seemed, I don't know, it wouldn't have, to be honest, it wouldn't have fit. After I saw the movie and had that thought, then I went, no, I hope he doesn't, because that'll be really weird. But there was a thought about that. And so I've run into people who have seen the movie who thought that's what was going to happen at the end. And I've had some people ask me about that. And so, yes, this is a spoiler, but I think everybody knows he remains a monkey. So,
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't even want to say he's a monkey. He's a CGI image. Okay, let me just say that, because I think I think people think there's some sort of humor involved in it. And there were some giggling at pieces because they are sort of funny because there's a different image, but you'll just have to see. So, yeah, but I was engaged, and I loved that monkey by the end. I'm just going to tell you. So.
So, just before we wrap up this episode, make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out. And also, Lucy and I would really appreciate it if you can leave us a star rating. You can do this on both Apple and Spotify podcasts. We would also love it if you could write us a short review, and you can do this on Apple. Don't forget, you can check out our episode notes for each episode and links to all tracks and videos at robbiewilliamsrewind.com. You can also email us at email@robbiewilliamsrewind.com. Please also follow and chat on our social channels. It's at RewindRobbie on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. And you can also like and follow our Facebook page, Robbie Williams Rewind. And before we return to this episode, you might also consider sending us one of your own Robbie stories for the show. Just record a short audio clip on your phone and email it to us. Please check the website for more details. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Robbie Williams, and you're listening to Robbie Williams Rewind with the Champions.
Well, thank you, Jocelyn, for joining us and sharing your wonderful travels and adventures in Telluride and in Toronto, and maybe one more time in your state.
I don't know. I feel like if it's in the North America vicinity, I have to be there. It's the same thing with Vegas. You're never here, so I have to be loyal to you.
Why not?
But at the same time, it's getting kind of overkill.
Well, but we've really enjoyed hearing your stories and you telling us about your perspective on the film, and I'm sure the fans will also love it as well. Obviously, we can't wait to see it. Yes. It does feel as though it's been rather a long time. Films do take a long time to produce of this nature, but obviously we know there was a delay involved, so we're looking forward to hearing what the European plans are, and the rest of the world plans are as well. But watch this space, I guess. And as always, thank you for being such a friend of the podcast. We said to Christina, kind of a bit of a guest host now, really. So we'll have you back on again soon.
Well, thank you for letting me talk about it, because I have no other venue to talk about it right. And it's kind of been
wonderful to hear it.
I know, boo-hoo, right? But you do like to share these things with people, and you know that this is going to mean a lot to a lot of people. And so I'd like to hear everybody else's feelings on it and not just be locked in my own little space with it. So I do appreciate that. I can't wait for everybody to see it. I think it's going to be fabulous.
For the listeners, we will be doing an episode or episodes, obviously, when the film finally does come out here. We will be hearing other people's point of view on it, so that will be interesting as well. Cool. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Jocelyn.
You're very welcome.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yes.
And hopefully we see you again soon at some stage when he starts touring.
Hope so.
Or maybe when
I need to build up those miles again.
Yes.
But the dogs get very upset when I leave, so they're happy I'm home. They don't understand, so. Anyhow, what can I say?
All right.
Thank
you for joining us.
Good to see you.
Thanks, Jocelyn.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Robbie Williams Rewind.